Before all the chaos, my house sat at the quiet end of Willow Ridge, the kind of neighborhood where lawns looked cloned, mailboxes gleamed, and people waved with one hand while dialing the HOA with the other. I'd retired early from electrical work, proud of the small home I'd wired myself decades ago. Solid, simple, and built to last. On warm evenings, my son kicked soccer balls down the driveway, while my wife watered the marigolds that lined the porch. Life was steady, predictable, comfortable. Then she moved in. Her Tesla arrived first, white, spotless, humming like an oversized hairdryer as it glided into the cul-de-sac. The woman followed. Perfect posture, designer sunglasses, and a tone that could slice drywall. Everyone called her Karen behind polite smiles. She called herself the Community Standards Coordinator, which was her polite way of saying Queen of Control. At first, she seemed harmless, the kind of neighbor who cared too much about leaf placement and recycling bins. But there was something about the way she eyed my property, like she was calculating where my boundary ended and her convenience began. The first time I caught her, I thought it was a mistake. I was cleaning tools in my garage one evening when a soft humming sound made me pause. Out front, her Tesla was parked in my driveway, cable running from my outdoor outlet like a lifeline. I stepped outside, blinking at the audacity. "Excuse me," I called out. She turned, smiled like she was doing me a favor. "Oh, hi. My charger's acting up," she said sweetly. "I just need a few minutes to top up. It's only electricity. Only electricity." She unplugged and drove off, leaving behind the faint smell of ozone and entitlement. I let it slide once, but then came the nights when she'd pull in quietly, headlights off, plug in, and drive away before sunrise. My bill spiked, and the HOA shrugged. "Maybe your meter's faulty," they said. Karen was on the board, of course. Her word was gospel. I tried polite notes, warnings, even a lock on the outlet. Each time, she found a way around it. Sometimes I find the lock broken, sometimes the plug bent. She'd wave at me afterward like nothing happened. That's when I realized she wasn't borrowing power. She was stealing control. I reported everything. The meter spikes, photos, timestamps. The HOA's response? Bureaucratic poetry. No clear evidence of unauthorized use. Of course not. Their president was the one doing it. Next, I called the electric company. They checked, shrugged, and said my readings were accurate. They couldn't help. So I went old school. Documentation, cameras, proof. For weeks, I gathered evidence like a detective. The footage didn't lie. Her Tesla pulling in, the plug snapping into place, the outlet light flickering on. I printed photos, built charts, highlighted timestamps. When I finally presented it to the HOA meeting, Karen smirked through every slide. "This feels invasive," she said, turning to the crowd. "Maybe Malik's just confused about shared community power." The room chuckled. That chuckle lit something in me. I'd spent my career respecting power, both electrical and moral. And this woman thought she could twist both to her favor. So I changed my approach. I wasn't just documenting theft anymore. I was studying her timing, her routes, her weaknesses. I knew one thing about people who feed off others' power. Eventually, they overcharge themselves into a meltdown. And I was done being the outlet. Summer came, and with it, her arrogance bloomed. She no longer sneaked around. She'd park boldly, plug in, and wave to passing joggers. "Just borrowing a few volts," she'd chirp. My wife stopped inviting neighbors over. The embarrassment was too much. One evening, during our family barbecue, she drove up again. My guests fell silent as her car crept in. Without a word, she plugged into my outlet, flipped her hair, and strolled away, leaving us staring at a $70,000 parasite on my driveway. That was it. I walked over, unplugged her car, and coiled the cable neatly beside it. When she returned, she gasped like I'd vandalized her vehicle. "You can't touch my property," she barked. "You're right," I said. "Stay off mine." The next day, I got a letter, official HOA stationery. Unneighborly conduct. I laughed out loud, but it also gave me clarity. She turned this into a power struggle, literally. So I started preparing legally and smartly. I called the utility company to audit my line. I filed a theft report with timestamps. I installed a motion-triggered breaker system, not to harm, but to cut power if the outlet was accessed without permission. That outlet would no longer fuel her ego. It would record it. It happened on a Thursday. Midnight quiet, moonlight glinting off chrome. My motion alert pinged. There she was, hoodie up, cable in hand, glancing around like a raccoon in heels. She plugged in. The breaker tripped. The power cut instantly, my system doing its job. But she didn't notice. She tugged, pressed buttons, frowned, and tried again. Sparks flashed faintly from her plug's end. Not dangerous. Just enough to fry the car's delicate charging control board. The camera caught everything. Her frustration, her confusion, her realization. The next morning, her Tesla was on a tow truck. Word spread fast. She claimed electrical sabotage. I handed the HOA footage of her trespassing at 12:41 a.m. with a warning posted clearly above the outlet. Unauthorized use triggers, automatic cutoff. The board went silent. Karen had finally overcharged herself and shorted her reputation beyond repair. When a utility company reviewed the footage, they confirmed no tampering. My system was perfectly legal. It protected against unauthorized access. Insurance refused her claim. The HOA, desperate to avoid liability, distanced themselves from her faster than lightning. Within a week, she was removed from the board. Her spotless image cracked. Neighbors whispered, screenshots spread, and suddenly Tesla Karen was trending on a local Facebook page. But the best justice wasn't public humiliation, it was balance restored. I received a written apology from the HOA for failure to address repeated complaints. They reimbursed me for months of inflated bills. The board installed community charging stations with paid meters and mandated outlet locks across the neighborhood. And as for Karen, she started parking 3 blocks away, charging elsewhere. The last time I saw her, she gave me a nod, half shame, half respect. She'd learned the hard way that free power comes with a price. For me, it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about proving that the quiet, patient neighbor isn't weak. He's just waiting for the right circuit to close. Peace returned to Willow Ridge, humming like a well-wired home again. The outlet stayed locked, the power bills steady, and my evenings calm. My son joked that I'd become a legend, Dad versus the Tesla Queen. But the truth is, I didn't win through anger. I won through patience, proof, and principle. Karen wasn't evil, just entitled enough to believe convenience justified theft. In her world, rules bent for those who could afford the fines. Now, when I plug in my tools or charge my own car, I think about how easily small violations grow into wars. One outlet, one lie, one shrug. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. It hums, steady, measured, and undeniable. And when the current finally finds its balance, it reminds you of something every electrician learns early on. Power doesn't belong to those who take it. It belongs to those who respect it.